We're going to bring in Chris Solari now from the Detroit Free Press. Chris, were you there when Mark Hollis made this announcement?
I was in the room. A very emotional moment for Mark Hollis. This is a guy that did his undergrad work at Michigan State. He began his career in athletics at Michigan State as a student assistant under Judd Heathcote. You could see that the emotion was there. That this was the end of all of that due to the horrific incident with Larry Nassar.
Describe for me what that room that he was in felt like as he was making the announcement.
It was heavy. I mean, it was a very heavy room. Mark he choked back tears a couple times. His wife, Nancy, was in the side of the room. And he said that it was a joint decision with him and his wife to retire at this time. He said that it was not much earlier than he had anticipated retiring. So he did say that he was considering it at some point in the relatively near future, but this obviously expedited things. And with the drumbeat around it, with the Nassar case, as it grew exponentially over the course of the last week during victim statements and hearing some of the survivors, and at least a dozen of which were former Michigan State athletes, I think that it's weighed on him considerably.
How do you think the people in East Lansing will take this? Will they be surprised by the news?
I think you're going to have two camps probably. I think there's people that are going to be good. We need a clean sweep. And then I think you're going to have others that were surprised that this ended up bringing Mark Hollis down. He's been serving as athletic director for a decade, and he took over for Ron Mason. And there's been tremendous growth. I mean, I'm standing outside near Breslin Center at 1855 Place, which, some of the facilities that have been created here for athletes have been, that's all come on his watch. It's been exponential growth with this building, with additions to the Breslin Center, additions to Spartan Stadium. But one of the things that he said was his mission statement when he took over for Ron Mason that he gave to his department was to focus on the health and safety and well-being of student athletes, which is in the NCAA bylaws. And seeing that and seeing that and hearing these women who, a lot of this, some of those earliest cases go back for athletic directors to Merritt Norvell in the 90s and Clarence Underwood and Ron Mason. Hearing that, Mark Hollis felt that he couldn't continue.
You mentioned a lot of the good things that happened under his watch, and of course, this is not the way he intended his retirement one day to go. How will Mark Hollis's tenure in East Lansing be remembered?
It's a good question. I think that had he stepped away without any of this, he would be probably remembered with Biggie Munn and maybe as perhaps the best athletic director in Michigan State history. But at the same point, you're talking about presiding over an athletic department during potentially, if not the biggest abuse scandal in all of sports, not just college sports here. I mean, we're talking the massive scope and scrutiny that has come with this that has hit everything from youth gymnastics all the way to the highest level of Division I athletics, all the way to the U.S. Olympic team. I mean, this is the enormity of this is going to be what's remembered for all of these people that end up having their careers ended by it.
Chris Solari of the Detroit Free Press, one of the few reporters who was in the room as Mark Hollis announced his retirement. Chris, thank you for your time and